What if one man could truly see the future, not with vague hints but with clarity that shook nations? For decades, this question pointed to one name, Temitope Balogun Joshua, or TB Joshua. Headlines echoed his pronouncements: Michael Jackson's death, the passing of President Bingu wa Mutharika, a football team lost in a plane crash, each foretold with chilling precision. These weren't isolated incidents, they formed a pattern that defied logic. To many, he was a prophet, to others a controversial figure whose claims seemed unbelievable. Yet his predictions were broadcast live, documented and scrutinized by millions. He stood before his congregation, speaking of events yet to unfold, creating a public record for the world to witness. TB Joshua's story is not just that of a preacher, but of a phenomenon that challenged the world's understanding of faith and fate. From humble beginnings, he built a ministry that drew presidents, celebrities, and ordinary people from every continent. They came seeking healing, deliverance, and a glimpse of the divine. His legacy continues to provoke debate and inspire millions long after his passing. TB Joshua's journey began in Arigidi Akoko, Ondo State, Nigeria, not in privilege but in poverty. Born in 1963, his mother claimed he spent 15 months in the womb, a sign of the extraordinary life ahead. He grew up washing feet and working on poultry farms, forced to leave school early to survive. Yet even as a child, he was different, known for his deep connection to the Bible and his ability to gather people for prayer. Nicknamed Small Pastor, he led prayer groups and displayed wisdom beyond his years. His hardships forged empathy for the poor and a reliance on faith. A failed attempt to join the military, thwarted by a broken-down train, seemed like destiny redirecting his path. These struggles shaped his purpose, not conventional success but a spiritual calling. His lack of formal training meant he relied solely on what he called the guidance of the Holy Spirit. This raw faith became the hallmark of his ministry, making him accessible to the common person. He spoke their language, understood their pain, and offered hope rooted in the belief that God could change any circumstance. The leap from small pastor to global leader began with a 40-day fast and a vision on a prayer mountain. TB Joshua described receiving a divine mandate to be a prophet to the nations and to found the synagogue, Church of All Nations. With just 8 members, he started in a swampy, neglected part of Lagos. The area was poor and dangerous, but it became the foundation of Scoan. His vision, a place where anyone from any nation could experience God's power. Early days were tough, skepticism, opposition, and poverty. But miracles drew crowds. People came with incurable diseases and left with testimonies of healing and deliverance. The ministry grew explosively, becoming a beacon of hope and a destination for international pilgrims. Let love lead became its motto, with charity at its core. TB Joshua's outreach provided food, scholarships, and support to the needy. He built more than a church. He built a community founded on faith, hope, and love. His ministry's impact soon reached far beyond Nigeria. TB Joshua's prophecies about world leaders brought him global attention. In February 2012, he told his congregation to pray for Malawi, predicting the death of an old African president within 2 months. On April 5th, President Bingu wa Mutharika of Malawi died, just as Joshua had foretold. The prophecy was public, specific, and broadcast live. For believers, it was proof of his divine gift. For skeptics, an unnerving coincidence. The Malawian government was unsettled, and after the president's death, his successor acknowledged the prophecy. This event solidified Joshua's reputation as a seer whose words carried weight beyond his church. He had spoken of a future event with chilling accuracy, witnessed by millions in real time. It wasn't just about predicting events, it was about influencing international affairs. His voice could not be ignored, and his prophecies became part of the global conversation. The world watched as his predictions unfolded before their eyes. TB Joshua's foresight extended to global events. Months before Michael Jackson's death, he warned of a superstar facing a fatal health crisis. When Jackson died, the prophecy's details matched the tragedy. He also predicted the 2011 Japan earthquake and tsunami, urging prayers for a nation soon to be devastated. The accuracy of his warnings, broadcast before the events, stunned viewers. He foresaw the Boston Marathon bombing and attacks in the UK and France, often urging vigilance and prayer. Sometimes his warnings were general, but often they were specific enough to be unsettling. Joshua saw himself as a watchman, warning nations to pray and avert disaster. His ministry became a source of spiritual intelligence for many. People turned to him for insight in a world full of uncertainty. His prophecies shaped how millions viewed unfolding global crises. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 remains one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Just a week before the tragedy, TB Joshua prophesied about a large plane from an Asian country, carrying over 200 people, developing a fault in the air that could not be resolved. On March 8, 2014, MH370 vanished with 239 people on board. The prophecy's details, plane size, passenger count, Asian airline, unresolved fault, were eerily specific. Broadcast live, the prediction became a focal point after the disaster. For followers, it was a divine revelation. For others, an inexplicable coincidence. The prophecy brought comfort to some, offering a spiritual context to the tragedy. The world's experts searched in vain, but Joshua's words lingered. The MH370 prophecy stands as one of his most famous and tragic predictions. It showcased his ability to foresee events that would baffle the world. His spiritual sight seemed to pierce through time itself. The event left a lasting impression on believers and skeptics alike. Joshua's legacy grew with every fulfilled prophecy. Miracles, not just prophecies, drew millions to TB Joshua's ministry. His crusades filled stadiums worldwide, from South Korea to Peru, turning religious gatherings into national events. The lame walked, the blind saw, and the incurable testified to healing. In Lima, over 100,000 gathered. Testimonies of transformation dominated the news. Stories of deliverance from addiction and disease were documented and broadcast on Emmanuel TV. The channel became one of the world's most watched Christian networks, sharing hope 24/7. It wasn't just about sermons. It was about practical compassion, feeding the poor, sheltering the homeless, educating children. This blend of miraculous power and charity fueled his global appeal. TB Joshua was seen as a man changing lives, not just predicting the future. His ministry's reach extended to every continent, touching millions. The world watched as faith and compassion transformed communities. On June 5, 2021, TB Joshua addressed his Emmanuel TV partners for the last time. He spoke of the importance of spreading the gospel and living a life of love and service. His final words, "There is a time for everything, a time to come here for prayer and a time to return home after the service." Hours later, he passed away, just before his 58th birthday. The announcement was simple. God has taken his servant home. The news sent shockwaves across the globe. Millions mourned their prophet and spiritual father. His life was a tapestry of powerful quotes. The greatest way to use life is to spend it on something that will outlive it. He urged his followers, "Let love be your motive, the best is yet to come." His final sermon was a call to continue the work of faith, hope, and love. He left not with fire and brimstone, but with quiet reflection and a challenge to carry on. His passing marked the end of an era, but his message endured. The world remembered a teacher whose life was a continuous sermon. With TB Joshua's passing, many wondered what would become of his ministry. But his legacy was built to last, rooted in principles, not just personality. The synagogue, Church of All Nations, continues its work, services, healing, and charity remain central. His wife, Evelyn Joshua, now leads, supported by disciples he trained. Emmanuel TV broadcasts his teachings to a global audience, its archives a treasure trove of faith and miracles. The seeds he planted have grown into vibrant communities worldwide. His influence is alive, shaping lives and inspiring faith. The true measure of his legacy is found in transformed lives and restored families. He showed that faith could bring tangible good and that compassion was a Christian's duty. TB Joshua's life was a sermon. Spend your life on something that will outlive it. His legacy of faith continues to echo across the globe.